Hello and welcome to the Startup Sessions, the #1 web show and podcast for trusting your gut, breaking the rules, and starting something meaningful, featuring in-depth interviews with acclaimed creative entrepreneurs that bucked the odds and succeeded at building their own meaningful business. I'm your host, Michael Knouse, and today I'm speaking with David Romanelli from New York City. David is a world-renowned yoga teacher, an entrepreneur, and a lover of life. His motto, life is short. Show up fully. He's a master at fusing amazing things together, things like yoga, chocolate, wine, and music. David brings a lighthearted and fun approach to wellness. For the past decade, David has been on a mission to restore the value of the present moment. He doesn't tell people that you need to strap on a loincloth and consume green juice and travel to India to be healthy and be present. Instead, he teaches everyday people how to use everyday passions to find a beautiful moment away from the stress of the day. David attended his first yoga class in 1996, and he was hooked. He quit his job and moved to Phoenix to co-found a chain of yoga studios. Then he began fusing yoga with modern culture to demonstrate the power, beauty, and sensory awareness of the present moment. This led to the release of David's #1 Amazon best-selling book, Yeah Dave's Guide to Living in the Moment. If you're looking for the inspiration and wisdom to fuse together your favorite things into creating a business and life with more meaning, you're definitely going to love this episode. It's all coming to you right now on episode number 12 of the Startup Sessions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Startup Sessions. I'm Michael Knouse, and today my guest is a guy who loves to blend some of my favorite things: yoga, chocolate, wine, laughter, music, and fun. David Romanelli's with me today here from New York City. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here. Mike or Michael?
Michael, yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. So David is, like I said, he's from New York City. He's an author, an entrepreneur, really a pioneer in the yoga industry, where he fuses good things, like I said, yoga, chocolate, wine, and music to create amazing experiences for people. And David also tours the U.S., showing people how to restore the value of the present moment and use everyday pleasures to escape the stresses of the day. And what entrepreneur doesn't need a little bit more of that, right? Yeah, I've personally taken David's unique yoga experiences twice in different trips that he's made to Portland. And the latest one was one of my favorite moments of 2013. I mean, we had music going, we had lights, we had your funny stories, yoga, chocolate, and wine. That was an amazing experience. So I can vouch for the effectiveness of what you do, David.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a great night in Portland. I loved it.
So since this show is really all about entrepreneurs taking their uniqueness and really making a difference in the world, David, I thought you would be just the ideal perfect guest because of your unique approach to yourself as both an entrepreneur and a yoga teacher and an author. So I'd love to have you start with, telling us a little bit about your story, maybe how you got started in yoga and what really inspired you to create your own very unique style as both a yoga instructor and an entrepreneur.
All right. Well, I took my first yoga class in 1996. It was the most incredible experience because it was physically exhausting. I was sweating and just a great workout. But then it was also, if you've ever had a great yoga class, it's a spiritual experience to be so relaxed and so present. And a good buddy and I, we were just graduated college, and we said, oh my God, yoga is amazing. And most people we know don't really know about it. They haven't had that yoga high.
Yeah.
So we figured this is going to really take off. And we quit our jobs and moved to Phoenix from LA. Mm-hmm. And opened our own chain of studios called @One Yoga. And the whole mission was, how do we make yoga more fun, more modern, more accessible, so more people will feel comfortable doing it? Because in the 90s, if you remember, yoga was people in leotards and chanting and incense, and it was intimidating for people, right? For a lot of people, not everybody. So we opened a chain of studios called At One Yoga, and we like to say we dropped the yoga bomb on Phoenix, and we just made yoga something for everybody. And I started teaching yoga and wanted to continue the mission because, the more people in the world doing yoga, the better the world is. So I started talking to a really good friend from college. Her name's Katrina Markoff, and she started a company called Vosges Chocolate.
Yes.
And she said, hey, you're fusing yoga with all the things you love, and I'm fusing chocolate with all the things I love. And a lot of people, yoga and chocolate are two of their very, very, very favorite things. Let's figure out how we can create yoga and chocolate. So we did a retreat to Oaxaca, Mexico, which is the birthplace of chocolate during the Day of the Dead ceremonies. And it was really interesting how when people are relaxed, as they are after yoga, you have an exotic chocolate truffle, and the flavor, it's like a disco party in your mouth. I mean, it's amazing, and everything's amplified.
Yes.
So we felt like there was something really special there because the world we're living in now, there is so filled with distractions that entire days go by where we don't have a single moment that we remember. Yeah. So this is a way to create a moment that was so profound that you couldn't help but forget everything and just plug into the moment.
Yes.
And so I started teaching these yoga and chocolate workshops all over the country, and it evolved to become Yoga and Wine and Yoga for Foodies, which is working with different chefs, and then Yoga and Jazz. And so it became kind of my own little style, you might say.
Yeah.
And the mission was the intention was let's make yoga more fun for people, more real, more relevant. So that's what I've been doing the last 10 years.
I love it. I mean, you're so right on in that, all the elements that you brought to the experience that you had here in Portland, just everything was accentuated, and it allowed all the, everyday stresses and stuff to melt away. And, we had 40 people just enjoying the moment of the yoga and the music and the chocolate and the wine. So you've created something that's pretty dang magical. I love it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And that's just the idea, is how do we, wellness, I think, in our culture right now is become daunting.
Yeah.
You look on Facebook and you see people in the fancy yoga poses and doing these crazy juice fasts, and there are millions of people out there who wellness, I think, feels like kind of out of reach.
Yeah.
Because they can't do fancy yoga poses and they don't want to drink juice, green juice.
Yes.
So the mission is, how do you make wellness more entertaining and fun and accessible to people? And I just try to say, one beautiful, funny, or delicious moment each day keeps the stress away. That's where it all begins.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So many people that I talk to and work with now feel, I guess, scared or underqualified to really, do something that they find meaning in, whether that's, starting their own business or getting out of their way to do something fun. What's your recommendation? You've gone down this road of your business evolving and what you do so that it's really an enjoyable experience for people, and you've made that a part of your life. So what would you say to people that feel scared to start, their own thing where they're creating value in the world?
The Bible of what you just talked about and finding a path of meaning is Joseph Campbell. Yeah. For me. And it's this book right here, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. But if you want the Cliff Notes, I have the movie right here. And this is called Finding Joe.
Okay.
And it's a documentary that interviews pop culture icons and interesting people in our society who have followed Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And basically it comes down to that famous quote, "Follow your bliss and doors will open where there were no doors before."
Okay.
And it's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
That you have the courage to trust your feelings and go for it, that good things will happen. That's just an absolute guarantee.
Okay. And I found that to be true too, leaving a corporate job and, starting the show and some of the coaching that I've done. Huge leap of faith. And, many moments of things being like scary as hell. But it really does all move forward and work out. And I'm amazed every single day that I pursue this path. And, I see it in others that have pursued the path too. But it doesn't mean that there's no fear. It's always there. It's just seems like it's being willing to take that next step. So thanks for those resources. I've heard of Joseph Campbell before, but I've not looked at either of those resources. So I'm going to check them out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The movie Finding Joe is just a really, for anyone who's considering a path of meaning, or you're on a path of meaning and you need a reminder to stay with it. It's just a really awesome documentary.
Okay.
Finding Joe.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Our viewers and listeners are going to love that, I'm sure. David, you've been on a mission to help restore what I think you call the value of the present moment. How can we do more of that? And how has that been important for you?
Well, I just think it comes down to the way we lead our lives now. It's like I mentioned a moment ago, when you put your head on the pillow at night, you remember a single thing that happened that day. Life is just a blur. And there was this great experiment that I talked about in my first book that I'm guessing most everyone listening has heard of it by now. It's called the Joshua Bell experiment, and the Washington Post put a famous violinist named Joshua Bell in a Washington, D.C. subway stop during rush hour. They disguised him as a street musician. Mm-hmm. He had his $1 million Stradivarius antique violin. He plays the most amazing concert halls all over the world. And here he was playing in the subway. And they videotaped it, put it on YouTube, and showed that over the course of an hour, over 1,000 people walked by, and really only one person stopped to watch.
Wow.
And so it says so much about our culture that we don't really make time anymore for beauty, to stop and savor life. We just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And so the value of the present moment is you got to make time for each day to make sure that you push away from your desk, that when you're eating something, you actually savor it. When you walk by a sunset, that you take a moment to just stop and look up. Thoreau has a great quote. He said, "The perception of beauty is a moral test." It says a lot about our character that we make time for beauty. If we squeeze beauty out of the equation of life, it's suggestive of other things. So basically, you got to make time for the moment, and we all need that reminder.
Yeah, we certainly do. I do. I definitely do all the time. One
Me
of the
too,
things,
trust me.
yeah, I mean, one of the, I don't know if you'd call it a paradox or not, but now that I'm doing work that's like a lot more meaningful and I'm jazzed and excited about, it's so interesting and exciting that I'll like sit at my desk like way too long. But it's always those times where I do like really make a conscious decision and effort to step away, whether that's for 10 minutes or whether that's for an entire day, out with, Jill and our dog, and we just go to the mountains or something. That's where I always get my new ideas, and that's where I always, find a deeper connection to what I do. It's by stepping away from it. So, so important. Thank you. All right. So one of the hallmarks, I think, of any great entrepreneur, anybody who's done anything and kind of achieved an expert status at it, is to embrace leadership and take risks. And I really admire your ability to do this in an industry, meaning yoga, that can seem pretty serious and traditional at times. I mean, there's more and more people doing fun and interesting things with yoga, but what drives you to be on the cutting edge and create things that are completely new and different from what others offer?
I don't know if it's so much trying to be new and different from others.
Yeah.
I just have this when being a yoga teacher, I always try to let people know, like, hey, I'm teaching what I'm learning. I have terrible anxiety. It's just genetic.
Yeah.
And I really grapple with issues of fear, like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so for me, yoga, and now more recently meditation, it heals you. It changes everything. It's like a dramatic, on-off switch or before and after moment. And anybody who hasn't discovered that, who hasn't discovered yoga or meditation, you're missing out on a very accessible ability to just let go of a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of tension instantly. Yeah. So I just my mission is not to be different from others, but just to make sure that we're getting this out there to more people.
Yeah.
That might be otherwise intimidated by the yoga.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the mission is, it feels like, a mission to make the world a better place and make sure that people are enjoying their lives. I mean, there's a question that somebody asked me recently that I've been asking people, and it's kind of a stumper. And the question is, are you enjoying your life? And being really honest with your answer. And a lot of people, they really have to think about it. And some people say flat out no, and some people are kinda, and some people are mostly, but very few people just give you a flat out yes. And that life's too short to not enjoy it.
Yeah.
So my mission is like, let's enjoy our life. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to strap on a loincloth and move to India. You can enjoy it right now. Let's eat some chocolate. Let's drink some wine. Let's relax. Let's just loosen your grip for a little while. And it's just how do we get that message out there? That's my mission.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that. And, I've experienced firsthand. I know one of the things that instantly, settles my soul is to go take a yoga class. I just know that. And so I try to take it as many times as I can during the week because it's so beneficial to me. So I would, for anybody out there who's not a fan of yoga or meditation, give it a shot, give it a try. I tried it and I'll never go back. I'm not a big meditator, maybe in the sense that, I don't know, I don't know a lot about meditation. I'll just leave it at that. But I've heard, this has come up for me a lot lately. And
we should talk about, let's talk about meditation at some point during the show today, because it's very interesting what's going on with meditation right now. So
Okay. Let's dive into it right now since we're on topic with it. If that's
okay.
Yeah, because I'm curious. It's just come up a lot recently for me. And so I know there's something to it. Whenever something is a recurring theme in my life that I keep hearing, it's usually like, you should pay attention to this. So please share what's going on.
Well, I mean, I never could meditate either, to be honest with you. I found it to be incredibly boring, and I was interested, but I couldn't find an entry point. Yeah. And then this last year, and this is sort of cheesy if you're like a hardcore yoga person, that people kind of like turn the cold shoulder on you. But Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey, very pop culture, but they released a series of 21-day meditation challenges, and I listened to them and got hooked because they make it very interesting. They talk to you like you're a child, so it's like not scary. And it's very consistent. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. And I found myself meditating. And it was the most wonderful feeling. It was like a massage for your brain. And, I wake up every morning and I'm always a little or a lot spun out. I think it's normal. People, especially when you live in the East Village, New York City, and, your nervous system is always kind of... So I wake up like that, and I do these meditations almost every single morning, and I feel amazing.
Okay.
So I realized once you get it, you're hooked. It's kind of like my guru and his wife used to give sex education advice to their daughters, and she would say, If it doesn't feel good, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
And meditation's the same way. I mean, if it doesn't feel good, you're not doing it right, because once you get it, you're in forever. Yeah. So that being said, meditation is so valuable because, you know, you drive around any major city and you see there's so much out there for the body. There's yoga studios and Pilates studios and gyms and tanning salons and beauty salons, and everybody's trying to improve their body. But there's really very little for the mind. And the mind is the most complex thing ever discovered in the universe. If you took a little piece of your brain, no bigger than the tip of a pen, and you stretched out all the neurons in that little tiny, tiny piece of brain, all those neurons would extend 2 miles in length. Wow. So that's how intricate the circuitry is in the human brain. It's just like incredible. But the average human being loses their attention span 6 to 8 times a minute. So here we are with this incredible potential. I mean, I could go on with stories about interesting human beings who have tapped into dormant abilities in the mind that would just, would blow your mind. And it shows that there's a saying that you're sitting on a whale fishing for minnows. And, you know, there's just so much potential that we have, but we have to start to learn how to explore it.
Yeah.
So I started realizing that, like you just said, there's millions of people out there who are interested in meditation and they don't have an entry point. And I said, you got to try these Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey meditations. And a lot of people have tried it, but either the music was too woo-woo, or their voices were too regal, or it just had all the stereotypes that sort of don't connect with people when it comes to these ancient Eastern spiritual arts. So next year I'm launching something, or this year, 2014, it's called Meditate On. And they're guided meditations that are fun, that are geared for people who need it to be entertaining, need it to be short, need it to be to the point, who have ADHD and can't sit still. These are going to be stories that engage your mind, music that's really cool, and things that are topical, you know, like 3 days in your inner Hawaii, and just kind of a guided meditations where you're surfing a huge wave or walking the black sand beaches of the Big Island. One series is about meditation for guys, for dudes, and it's like you're kicking a field goal in blinding snow, and the other team calls timeout, and your head's going crazy, and how do you focus? So things that are interesting, and kind of like we did with yoga many years ago, making meditation more fun and real and accessible for people who are interested.
Yeah, I love it. Again, it seems like you're fusing things together to create something unique and interesting. And just hearing you talk about it, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm totally going to check that out. That sounds fantastic. Totally. So Meditate On, I love that. If someone wants, because the nature of us humans is like you said, we're all distracted. So if, you know, someone's listening or watching the show and they want to make sure that they know about this when it's released, what's the best way to like connect with you to make that
my website? It'll live on my website, yeahdave.com, or meditate-on.com. It's coming soon, and I'll make sure to let you know, and you can let everyone know. I'm developing it, creating the website, creating the content. It's coming in the next 8 to 12 weeks. And it'll be a subscription service, so you subscribe monthly, and I'll be releasing new journeys. I mean, if you think 5 or 10 years into the future, it's a new medium of entertainment, a new medium of storytelling.
Yeah.
That is geared to create a mind that's more fit, that you have more control over. There's a saying that letting your mind control your life is like letting an 8-year-old drive your car. You know, and our minds just run rampant. We don't even think about the idea that our thoughts need to be reined in.
Yeah.
And there's so much stimulation around us that it's one thing after the other. And until we learn how to say no to certain stimuli, we just are going to be going crazy. You know, it's always something that's entering our mind that we may not want to be entering our mind, but it's entering anyway because there's no filter there. So Gandhi said, don't walk your dirty feet through my mind. And you got to have a filter, and you got to say, I'm going to consume this information, but I don't want that information.
Yeah.
It's much like your diet, where you're going to eat healthy, clean foods, and chances are you're probably not going to eat McDonald's all that often. But when it comes to our mind and content, there's a lot of McDonald's that we're eating, all of us, myself included. So
yeah. Okay. I love it.
There's the long and the short of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think, I mean, you know, to me, I've say I've dabbled in meditation would be even a stretch, but that's the way I always thought of meditation was like, how am I ever going to sit still in the morning for even 10 minutes? But this with the stories and stuff, and especially like the meditation for dudes, like that appeals to me. So I think you're onto something, my friend. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And so look for Meditate On soon.
Okay. Yeah. Send it to me when it's ready, and I'll make sure to get it out to my lists so that so people can have the chance to check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll do.
All right. God, I mean, the next question I had for you was, you know, like mindset and resolve are so important for entrepreneurs. So a lot of people hit stumbling blocks along the way. And my question was kind of like, how have you dealt with that? I think yoga for me is a big one. Like that's literally one of the things that I use. I call it my secret weapon to be able to go and you know, overcome obstacles as an entrepreneur. And so I kind of see maybe meditation being an element of being able to do that too. But any other advice from you on, you know, just mindset and resolve to overcome, you know, our either self-perceived or like, you know, life limitations as we go along?
Oh, wow. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've failed and how many obstacles I've had and how important it is to pick yourself up and keep going. And the most important thing I've learned is that you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be fired up on what you're doing and your own idea. And it sounds so basic, like Self-Help 101, but there's been a lot of times where I haven't fully believed in myself and I've had one foot in and one foot out. I think we get mired in mediocrity and we're okay with being in the middle. We kind of believe, we kind of don't believe. We're kind of working hard, but we're kind of not working hard. And the people I feel that are most successful on the entrepreneurial path, I mean, you got to be all in.
Yeah.
There's no mediocrity. You have to both feet in. There's a saying by a yogi named, I forget his name, Ramakrishna, I think, and he said, seek enlightenment like somebody whose hair is on fire is seeking a pond. And it's the same thing with the entrepreneurial mission, like seek what it is that you're seeking, like someone whose hair is on fire seeking a pond. I mean, you got to be fired up and all in. And living in New York City the last few years, it's taught me a lot about confidence and strength because you get your ass kicked in this place. And if you're not bringing your A game, it's so competitive that there's 800 other people who are just going to crush you. So A, you have to bring your A game. B, you have to be excellent. And C, you have to know your strength, because if you're not leveraging your strengths and talents, somebody else is going to be better. So it's taught a lot about just full force, be all in.
Yeah. God, that is great. That is great advice. It's in some ways too, it's I think people see that decision as going all in as something that's like really super hard to make. But yet it's not. And when you make it, a lot of stress in many ways melts away. Because when you like go full force forward with your idea, there's something about that that's, for me, it's like a weight off my shoulders. Like, okay, you know, here I am. Let's go. And, you know, get out of the way because this is going to happen.
I mean, that's been a big lesson for me, that I've had too many times where I've just been okay with mediocrity. I haven't brought my A game, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and that's not going to work. No matter how good your idea is, how much money you have or don't have.
Yeah.
If you're not full force believing in yourself, and you're not a champion, your own best supporter and champion, then it's just not going to work. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting your comments about living in New York. My past several years was involved with being in the corporate world and software and technology, and I'd have clients in New York, and there was always something super refreshing about dealing with people from New York City for me, and there was just like no buffer. Like in Portland, people like go overboard on being nice, and it's almost like, okay, just cut to it and like let's get something done, right? In New York, it's the opposite. It's people are so like just dive right in. Man, if you've got a weakness, they can sniff it out like nobody's business, and if they're a-holes, they'll exploit it. But it's a unique culture there, and one that I found kind of refreshing in business, because it was just like, hey, cut to the chase, and there's it was interesting to me to deal with that. So yeah,
you can I mean, there are days where it's like I compare living in New York to like being in an incredibly intense workout class of some sort, and you're sweating and you're exhausted, but it feels amazing. You can't wait for it to be over, but it feels amazing, but you can't wait for it to be over. That's like the relationship that I have with New York City.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So one thing that I like to do with my guests is, give people a chance to like, just know them. We've already talked a lot about, like who you are, but I always like to ask this question about saying something, offering something more unique. And so, David, what are some of your current like adventures or hobbies? Something that's most interesting to you now, or maybe what's the most adventurous thing you've done in the last like 3 months?
Just hiked the Grand Canyon over the Christmas, New Year's holiday, and it was profound and powerful and just really, really stunning.
Wow. I've not done that. I've flown into it from a trip to Vegas, and it was stunning doing that. So I can imagine hiking it was incredible.
Yeah, you gotta get in there.
Something powerful about being in the majesty of nature.
You know that better than I do, being in Oregon, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's part of why I live here, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what's next for you. You talked about the meditation project that you're doing called Meditate On. What else is new for you in the new year and exciting that people should know about?
I have a new book that comes out in October.
Okay.
The title, as of today, but it may change, is Happy is the New Healthy.
Okay.
26 Ways to Celebrate Life Now.
Okay.
And it's inspired by a lady that I met in New York City who's 110 years old. So she's a super centenarian.
Wow.
And people that are 110 or older are very rare.
Yeah.
There's only 60 documented people around the world who are 110 or over. They think there probably are more, but they only know about 60. So in order to be that age, you have to have certain qualities. You can't just wake up in the morning bummed out to be alive. I mean, you've got to have a certain joie de vivre. And so I learned some really great lessons from this lady about life. Yeah. And, most interesting, she's not a vegan. She's not a hardcore health freak. She doesn't do any yoga. Yeah. But she has a wicked sense of humor. She's super resilient. And she truly enjoys the journey. And those are some qualities that are seen across the board with super centenarians and any old people who are happy and healthy deep into life. So the book gives you some very concrete things that you can do right now in this moment to celebrate your life, to create a moment in a day that is otherwise ordinary and make it extraordinary.
Fantastic.
So that's a major project along with Meditate On, and that will be my first book that's come out since 2009. So a lot of great stories that I've been writing and saving for that one. And I'm psyched about it.
Great. And Jill and I have your other book on your first book on our bookshelf and love it. Give a brief shout out, if you will, for that book for maybe the listeners who aren't familiar with it.
Yes, that book is called Yeah Dave's Guide to Live in the Moment.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon, or you can just look up David Romanelli and it'll show up.
Okay.
And it's the story of showing up for your life. It starts off with a story when I was 15 years old. My dad took me to Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. And that was the game where the Dodgers were losing, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. And they called to bat a guy named Kirk Gibson, who was really badly injured and could barely walk to the plate. It was just like The Natural, that movie with Robert Redford.
Yeah.
And Kirk Gibson was down to 2 strikes. You were waiting for him to strike out and go home sad, and they were going to lose. And then, boom, Kirk Gibson hit this dramatic home run. The Dodgers went on to win the game. They went on to win the World Series. It was one of the most famous moments in sports history.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where my dad and I were sitting when he hit that home run, in the back seat of his car, driving down the 405 freeway because we left early from the game to beat the traffic in the parking lot.
Oh my
and
gosh.
So that's the intro to the book, and I feel like that's happening more and more, that we are missing important moments in our lives, not because we don't care, but because we're so busy.
Yeah.
And Robin Sharma has a great quote. He says, life is just a series of moments. If you miss the moments, you miss your life.
Yeah.
So that's the book. It's about engaging your sensory perception. It's about having a sense of humor. It's about taking a moment each day to recognize a beautiful moment, a funny moment, and a delicious moment. Really simple.
Yeah, it's a great book. I will link it up in the notes to this show so that people can go find it easily and purchase it if they want to. Great book.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. David, any final thoughts from you as we wind down today's show?
Well, if you're listening and you haven't tried yoga or meditation, and seek it out, find a way to relax. I think fear is such an issue in our culture, and fear stands between us and our potential and our passion and all the good that's coming to us.
Yeah.
And the second we can move through our fear, we open up a world of opportunity and possibility. So I only say that from experience. It's a daily challenge to get a handle on my fear and move through it rather than run from it. So that's my final thought.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's something that I deal with every day as well, and I think a lot of people do. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for being on the show today. It's been wonderful having you. So many great, both nuggets of advice as well as a lot of great in-depth wisdom and knowledge that you shared today. I appreciate it. I always learn just as much from these shows as any of my listeners. So, from me to you, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy New Year.
Thank you, David. Same for you. So for all my listeners and viewers, if you enjoyed this show, please go and sign up on the website. Just opt in so that you can receive all of these amazing content shows every week delivered straight to your email inbox. And also, the Startup Sessions podcast is now live. So if you want to listen to the shows in your car or while you're going for a run or walking the dog, be sure to go to iTunes and subscribe to the Startup Sessions podcast. You'll get all these same great episodes. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. And I look forward to next week for another new episode of the Startup Sessions. Take care.
Take care.